Great time of year to head out on the water, but it is National Safe Boating Week, and as a region surrounded by water, now's a pretty good time to remind you to play it safe out there.
That's right. Dave Williams joins us again live in Charleston with the U.S. Coast Guard. Hey, Dave.
Hey, things are going great out here. It's a beautiful day, and it's days like these when you want to get out on the water. And we kicked off National Safe Boating Week on Saturday with a celebration at the Mount Pleasant Waterfront Park. And two folks that were there with me the other day were Jason Miller and Jen Heisler. Good to see you guys.
Hi, thanks for coming out.
Now, Jason, you're going to tell us a little bit about what the Coast Guard does here in Charleston. What are some of your duties?
Well, you know, the Coast Guard does a lot around here. We have a lot of different units that have a lot of different missions. As far as what the boating public sees from us, you know, one of the biggest things is search and rescue. You know, and that's any time that a boater's out there in trouble. We have a lot of different assets that are capable of responding. We have small cutters that are able to go out. We have a lot of small boats here at the station itself, along with the helicopters that are able to respond quickly in case someone is in trouble.
Now, what about folks trying to sneak into the country or because this is a port town, people see an opportunity to try to get into the United States. Where's Charleston rank there?
Absolutely, and that is definitely a part of our mission. And what we have for that is we have our vessel boarding security teams. And what they do is when we have the freighters coming in from offshore, we actually take a boarding team out, they go through the ship, they check their documentation, check to make sure everything's in line and make sure that they're not trying to do something like that.
Definitely. And throughout this week, what are some of the things that you're trying to do around town just to make sure that people are safe?
Well, you know, one of the big things with the Coast Guard law enforcement mission is what we call recreational boating safety. And that's when we do the random stops on people out in the harbor. We come on board and we're really trying to make sure that they're being safe, and it's really more about education than it is anything else. Make sure that their gear is in good shape, and if it's not, we're going to educate them on why it's not and what they can do to really get it in line with what they need to so that they are being safe on the water.
Definitely, because a lot of times some of these boats have been on the water for several years and maybe something's gotten a little old. Just kind of update things.
That's absolutely right. You know, flares is a big thing. People tuck them down in the bottom of their boat. They get wet, and when you do actually need them, you pull them out and they're all swelled up with water and they don't work.
Right. And what a lot of folks don't realize is that here with the Coast Guard, we've got the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and that's where Jen comes in. What are some of the things that the Auxiliary does, Jen?
We're actually the civilian volunteer component of the Coast Guard, and here in Charleston we do everything except for direct law enforcement and military action with the Coast Guard. So you'll see us out on the water, recreational boating safety, educating the public through safe boating courses, vessel safety checks, and kind of just being out there, being visible. Now,
about how many folks are we talking about in the Auxiliary, and do you get paid to do that?
The only payment I need is a nice thank you at the end of the day from BM1 Miller over here. But actually in Charleston we have about 120 volunteers, and they contribute over 15,000 hours every year of supporting the Coast Guard.
Now, do you need more volunteers, and what sorts of qualifications do you need to have to be in the Auxiliary?
Absolutely, we would love to have more volunteers, and all of the training is provided through the Auxiliary and through the Coast Guard. So really it's just having a passion about boating safety and wanting to give back to the community.
Definitely. Now, Jason, what are some of the boats that you actually have here and some of the other search and rescue type things that you take out?
Well, right here at the station, we have our 25-foot Defender class response boats, which is the orange collared ones that everyone sees out on the water.
Yeah.
Then we also have our 41-foot utility boat, which is obviously a little bit bigger boat. We can take that one offshore. That's what we run right here out of the station. And then we also have an 87-foot patrol boat, which is the Yellowfin, which is stationed here. And then we keep a ready helicopter stationed over on Johns Island so that we have that capability as well if we need the air support.
Now, the 87-foot boat, is that the one we hear reports of? It goes out and does all these cocaine busts all around the world?
I don't know that they've gotten any cocaine busts. That's more the bigger cutters, the okay. Dallas and the Gallatin and those. The Yellowfin does a lot of really great work with the offshore search and rescue, the stuff that we can't get to with our boats, along with a lot of really great fisheries law enforcement and really protecting the natural environment and our resources in that regard is a lot of the work that they do.
All right, so there you go. That's what the Coast Guard does here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about safety and some of the things that you can do on your boat coming up in just a little bit here. John and Tessa, back to you.
All right, thanks, Dave. Well, you know the sun is getting brighter by the day, and that means it's time to cover up. Just ahead, we tell you what you need to know to keep happy and healthy this summer.
And take a look at this. This is a Mount Pleasant trolley from back in the late 1800s. It carried passengers from Mount Pleasant to Sullivan's Island and the Isle of Palms. And now, more trawlers are going to be running that same historic route. I go on board just ahead.